You know, I used to think it was the Obama administration, but boy, Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy. Ooh.
Really? Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Just as an intelligent person, a statesman, I felt like he's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change.
Wow, how could Trump, equivocate on this whole thing? And then it took just a little bit of digging, just a little bit, because all you had to do is extend the clip 45 seconds.
Joe Rogan has recently turned his attention toward Barack Obama, arguing that the former president may have undermined his own legacy over time. Rogan points out that when Obama first ran for office, his campaign leaned heavily on identity-based messaging, and at the time, it resonated with a large portion of the country. Years later, Kamala Harris attempted to use a similar approach, but Rogan says it fell flat. According to him, that failure can be traced back to the precedent Obama set, and Rogan backs up his view by referencing clips and examples to explain his reasoning.
We did trust the government, but which is such a weird thing to say. You know, I used to think it was the Obama administration, but boy, Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy. Ooh.
Really? Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Just as an intelligent person, a statesman, I felt like he's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You know, you think you're going to do something, and then you get into office, and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up lie about Trump, the thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist, which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017.
Rogan reflected on how he once accepted Obama's messaging at face value during the lead-up to the election, noting that he was far from alone. He believes a majority of Americans did the same, even if they had lingering doubts. Rogan says many people came to accept harsh characterizations of Donald Trump as established truth rather than political rhetoric. Those claims were repeated so often and amplified so widely that they began to feel unquestionable. Rogan argues the intent was to define Trump's image before voters could form their own opinions. Once that perception took hold, challenging it became socially unacceptable, and anyone who disagreed was quickly dismissed. In hindsight, Rogan describes this as an eye-opening lesson in how public opinion can be shaped when influential voices speak forcefully and the media reinforces the message without much scrutiny.
Yeah. You know, I think it worked back then. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe it anymore. I think that we've gotten numb to all this stuff.
Well, it's the sky is falling thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you cry wolf or whatever. It's like, you guys can only call me a fascist so many times.
According to Rogan, that narrative has largely lost its influence, and the resulting loss of trust played a role in voters shifting toward Trump. After years of constant warnings and extreme claims, many people began to see a pattern. The same arguments were repeated, but everyday experiences did not align with the urgency being promoted. What once sounded persuasive started to feel exaggerated and manufactured. Rogan believes much of the messaging surrounding Trump was less about honest evaluation and more about political strategy aimed at maintaining influence for figures like Obama and later Kamala Harris. Over time, skepticism turned into resistance. Rogan describes the most recent election as a tipping point, where voters rejected emotionally charged messaging and pushed back against what they saw as coordinated narratives. He says many Americans began responding not just to candidates, but to a deeper frustration with how information was being presented to them.
Also has been saying something really crazy. She's been saying that this is the closest race of the 21st century and that it wasn't a mandate. That's just not true.
It's not true.
Gore and Bush was much closer.
Yes.
I think that was 0.5%.
I don't know why she keeps saying this.
That's just a lie. And then also she's leaving out the fact that she lost every swing state. Every single one.
Yeah.
So, like, what are you talking about?
I know. It's
he
crazy.
won the popular vote, and he won the Electoral College vote, and that's a mandate. Say that it's not a mandate. It's like, but it's almost like if you say it to the converted, that they're going to listen and repeat it. Yeah, he barely won.
Right.
Like, no, he won.
Yeah.
He won every swing.
Rogan says Kamala Harris and the Democratic National Committee are still struggling to come to terms with how decisive the election loss was. He suggests that embarrassment plays a major role in why some leaders have difficulty acknowledging what happened. Losing an election is difficult, he notes, but losing by a large margin forces uncomfortable truths into the open. Rogan argues that avoiding those truths only delays progress. Accepting responsibility, reflecting honestly, and acknowledging mistakes are necessary steps toward rebuilding credibility. In his view, refusing to admit where things went wrong guarantees repeated failures. Political recovery, Rogan says, begins with humility and self-awareness, not denial or blame shifting.
Took credit for the no tax on tips things in the book as well.
That's hilarious because that was clearly his.
Clearly.
He said it first and they copied it.
It's amazing.
Did she really say that in the book?
I haven't read it, but I have heard from someone who did read it that she did. So people.
She had to address not coming on here in the book too, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Rogan then turned his attention to Kamala Harris specifically, criticizing her for attempting to claim credit for the no tax on tips idea. He argues that anyone paying close attention to politics understands that this proposal, as it has been discussed in recent years, originated with Donald Trump and was not a long-standing Democratic position. Rogan says Trump promoted it intentionally as a campaign message, and it resonated with many working-class voters. He believes Harris tried to revise that history, assuming the shift would go unnoticed. To Rogan, this was another example of political messaging that failed to connect with voters, as reflected in the election outcome. What stood out to him most was that this approach continued even after the loss.
Her team was not truthful about that encounter at all. They never committed to doing the show, ever.
Yeah.
They said that, I said that I had a personal day, which is not true. I said I am not available the day that Trump was here. I said that day's not, I didn't say that I have a personal day. They just made that up.
That's crazy.
And then they also said that they sent someone here to go through the studio, like sent someone to do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Not true.
No.
Not true.
How can they? I mean, it's just you repeat it and you say it and your side believes it and you move on.
Why would they do that when I can just
know.
say that's not true?
Rogan says that following the election, Harris continued to present herself as the source of ideas and policies she did not originally champion. He does not see this as confidence, but as an unwillingness to accept reality. Rogan also addressed claims surrounding his own podcast, where there was widespread public interest in Harris appearing as a guest. The interview never took place, and a story circulated suggesting Rogan had taken a personal day on the scheduled date. That explanation spread quickly and was widely accepted. Rogan now says that account is inaccurate. Rather than acknowledging scheduling issues on their end, he claims the campaign allowed a different narrative to take hold.
Why would I lie? I have no reason to lie.
So it would have been interesting to.
If I fucked her over, I would tell the truth.
Yeah.
If I was like, we lied, we told her I was taking a personal day, but realized I wanted to get Trump in. Not true. I tried to do both of them in the same day. That was my idea.
That would have been
my
amazing.
idea was to do Trump during the day and then her to come. She had a thing she was doing in Houston. After the thing with Houston, I go, I'll do it at midnight. I don't care. We'll do it whenever you want to do it.
Yeah.
While you're in Texas, but I just can't do during the day because
Right.
Trump's going to be here.
Yeah.
But they had to have known. I mean, the Secret Service there was 200 guys here. They had
In Texas.
in this studio.
No.
There was
For
200
Trump.
people here for
Yeah,
Trump.
for Trump, yeah.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It was packed.
It is difficult, Rogan suggests, not to conclude that Harris simply chose to avoid his platform. His show is known for long-form, unscripted conversations that do not rely on prepared answers or controlled conditions. Those settings can quickly expose weak or vague messaging. Rogan contrasted this with a widely discussed television interview where Harris's responses were reportedly edited for clarity, raising questions for viewers. On Rogan's podcast, there would be no such safety measures. The conversation would be live, unfiltered, and driven by follow-up questions. Rogan's audience values openness, and rehearsed talking points rarely hold up over several hours. If a message cannot withstand open discussion, Rogan argues the issue lies with the message, not the platform.
Someone had to know something that he was here.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery. But I
Bringing the
said,
dogs through.
but I wasn't trying to be deceptive. I said, I'll do it later.
Right.
I just can't do it during this time.
That's the excuse they took.
They want to do it.
That's like, okay, they took that
They
excuse.
never
because
wanted to do the
no,
whole thing.
Never.
They wanted to do like a 45-minute thing in a different place. They didn't say scripted, but they did say that there were some things that she didn't want to talk about. And then they denied that.
Yeah. That's what I meant by scripted. Yeah.
I said I don't care. I'll talk to you about cooking. I don't give a. I just want to know, who are you? I'll figure you out.
Yeah.
I'll figure you out in a few hours.
Yeah, in 3 hours, you can't fake your way through a conversation like this.
No, I'll find you.
Yeah.
I'll find you.
Rogan believes Harris's team doubted her ability to manage a 3-hour, free-flowing discussion and instead pushed for a tightly controlled 45-minute appearance. That request stood in stark contrast to the well-known format of his show, which routinely runs for hours without scripts, teleprompters, or strict boundaries. Beyond time limits, Rogan says her team also wanted control over the location and setting. To him, that emphasis on control spoke volumes. His podcast is built on extended dialogue and genuine back and forth, and reducing it to a brief, managed segment undermines its purpose. When candidates rely heavily on guardrails, Rogan says voters take notice.
What are you trying to do?
Right.
Like, you could close that border. Trump closed that border in a day.
Amazing.
In a day. As much, you could say, I hate what's going on with ICE, and I don't like it either. I don't like this thing of like taking people. And here's the thing. Well, they should have done it the right way. Yeah, okay. But if you're poor and you're living in a third world country, that's not an available option. Okay, what is an available option is this one administration over 4 years is encouraging people to go through.
Yeah.
Not only are they encouraging you to go through, there's Red Cross stops along the way. They give you maps. They tell you how to do it. They're funding people getting in. They're paying for air flights.
Yeah.
They're flying people in. They're moving people into swing states. They're getting them on medic.
Rogan has said he would have been especially interested in pressing Harris on the handling of the border situation. He believes that discussion alone would have drawn widespread attention. Rogan is known for asking detailed follow-up questions and pushing past surface-level answers, which is where conversations often become uncomfortable. Harris was frequently described as having responsibility related to border issues, and critics argue that outcomes under her watch led to widespread concern across party lines. An appearance on Rogan's show would have required her to address those concerns directly, without edits or prepared responses. That, Rogan suggests, is why the interview never happened. In the end, he believes attempts to control narratives, claim credit selectively, and avoid unscripted discussion revealed more than intended. Many voters, he argues, recognized the pattern and responded by demanding clarity and accountability over polished messaging. That brings us to the end of today's video. If you found it valuable, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.